When I was growing up, pizza bagels were one of my favorite treats to have. Another honorable mention is pizza pretzels. Those things used to be everywhere in all the grocery stores, like where I lived. And they were also like up there with pizza bagels. It was like, oh, do I get the pizza bagel or do I get the pizza pretzel? The pizza pretzel's got a cooler shape, but the pizza bagel's got more cheese on it. It's like, ooh, which one do you choose? It was one of those little kid tough choices you had to make. So I decided I wanted to try making some of these. Like, they don't seem like they'd be that difficult to make. But it turned out that actually finding a recipe for one of these was actually very difficult, because it seems that there's two types of pizza bagels out there. There's pizza bagels that are made from existing bagels, like people have chopped them in half and then we'll put sauce and cheese on it and like kind of toast them, kind of like bagel bites style. But the other kind is a more breadier bagel, kind of made from almost pizza dough. And then it is covered with sauce and cheese and is baked as one. It was never a bagel before it became a pizza bagel. If you go into a Canadian grocery store, at least in British Columbia, I'm not sure what it's like in the rest of Canada, but these are the kind of pizza bagels you'll see. Like, they're really cheesy, they're like covered in sauce, and they're like pretty huge as well. They're not like little bagels, they're big. Like, those are the kind I wanted to try and make. I wasn't able to find any YouTube videos on how to make these, but eventually, after scrolling through recipe after recipe, I was able to find someone who actually has a recipe for these. So apparently those kind of pizza bagels are also found in Cleveland as well, which I didn't know about, but that's pretty cool. I'm glad that somewhere else gets to enjoy these pizza bagels the way they should be. Like, I don't know, like I can't... When I see somebody like, oh, this is a pizza bagel recipe and it's just a cut open bagel with like sauce and cheese on top, it's just not the same. So I decided to give their recipe a try, and spoiler alert, boy was it amazing. It was a great recipe. So I'm linking it down below. So if you want to make these too, just go to the description. So credit to Little Market Kitchen for their amazing pizza bagel recipe that I used in this video. This recipe is pretty simple, so let's get started. So into a large bowl, add 4 teaspoons of yeast or 2 packets, half a cup of flour, and half a cup of warm water. And then you're gonna stir that together. And you're going to let that sit for 15 minutes and let the yeast all bloom and it goes all like bubbly and cool. Go do that right now. And then get back to me, let me know once you've done that. Comment it down below. I'm done, I'm ready for step number 2, okay? So while we're waiting, let's finish off the rest of the dry ingredients. So into a large bowl, you're going to add, oh, hello. Anyways, add 3.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then just gently mix that all together. So once it's been 15 minutes and your yeasty mixture is looking quite alive, you're then going to add 1/4 cup of oil and then 1 cup of warm water. So then it's time to add in your dry mix, dump that in, stirred around until it's all mixed together, and then you're gonna need to knead it for about 10 minutes until it forms like a nice ball of dough. Next, add your dough to a greased bowl, cover it and place it somewhere warm so it can double in size. This will take 1 to 2 hours. In this recipe, they do mention how the dough for these pizza bagels is more like a pizza dough than a bagel dough. Like, you're not boiling the dough to cook it like you do with traditional bagels. Once your dough has doubled in size, you're gonna take it out onto like a chopping board and you're gonna chop it into 8 equally sized pieces. And then just roll those into balls. With these, you're just gonna use the lazy bagel technique. You're not gonna like roll them out into little strips and then wrap them around your hand or anything like that. Take one and you're going to press your finger all the way through it and then just kind of pull it apart a little bit to make that bagel shape. These bagels do rise quite a bit, so you wanna make sure they're quite flat, because otherwise it's just gonna rise and you're gonna have this like really like tall bun shape. You'll have a better bread to cheese to sauce ratio if it's kind of flatter and wider than narrow and tall. Otherwise it'll just be mostly bread you're eating. The nice thing about these bagels is you don't need to make them look good because you're gonna cover them up in sauce and cheese, so you can't see any of the imperfections in them. So the next thing to do is to pour about 2/3 of a cup of marinara sauce into a bowl, and then you're going to dip all your bagels into the sauce and then place them on a parchment lined baking sheet. Then just brush on a bit more sauce onto the bagels and make sure you get it all over it. Like, you want to really cover these in sauce because they're going to taste so much better the more sauce they have on them. So do not go light with the sauce. I probably could have put a little bit more sauce on mine. They still were really good, but they could have used a little bit more sauce, which is always like the gripe I would have if I ever bought one from the store. I was like, this is really good, but it just could have used a little bit more sauce. So the ones I made were like pretty authentic because they even had the same flaws as the ones from the grocery store. I don't eat cheese, so I'm using plant-based cheese for mine. Also, part of the reason I haven't made these until now is that plant-based cheese wasn't very good. Like it didn't always melt and it had weird aftertaste to it. But now plant-based cheese has come a long way and there's lots of really good options out there. So like I felt comfortable that I could make these and they wouldn't be ruined by the cheese. What you're gonna do next is just grab about a cup of grated cheese, like mozzarella cheese or kind of whatever you really want. I kind of mixed two types together and then you're just gonna sprinkle it on. Go heavy with the cheese as well. Like you wanna put quite a bit on. Plant-based cheese doesn't quite spread out in the same way real cheese does, so that's why I'm just loading mine up with cheese. Once you're happy with the way they look, you're gonna chuck them into a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for 20 minutes. I watched over mine like a hawk because I did not want them burning, you know. Eating these straight out of the oven is the best way to enjoy these. They're just so nice warm, which you don't really get to experience when you buy them from the grocery store because they've been sitting there for a while and are cold. I ate about 3 of them within half an hour and have no regrets. But so I could have the authentic pizza bagel experience, I saved one of these, so I'm gonna be trying it cold. Just like when you buy it from the grocery store and you can't be bothered to microwave it. I'm really happy with this bread recipe because it has just this most amazing smell to it. It's got that really nice yeasty smell. That's the kind of pizza bagel experience I remember. It's still pretty soft for being over a day old. This tastes almost exactly how I remember it. Obviously the cheese flavor is different, but like this texture and like the bready flavor with that kind of old sauce on it, this is like big time nostalgia for me. When I was younger and I was eating these, what I'd really like to do is there would always be like a big puddle of cheese that had like gone through where the hole was, and it would just be like cooked and like all crispy. And so I'd like peel that off and like eat that, and it would just be this big hunk of like cooked cheese, and it was always like super good. It just reminds me so much of the pizza bagels that I used to know. I'm sorry, that was really bad. 10 out of 10. No complaints. These are amazing. Go make yourself one. Who knew making a pizza bagel would give me so much joy? Anyways, if you want to make this recipe from the Little Market Kitchen, it'll be linked down below. Give it a try. They're amazing. I'm thinking about making pizza pretzels next, so comment down below if that's something you'd like to see.